Every budget put out by any governor in Delaware is always fair game to be picked apart. Are we a glass half full economy or a glass half empty? First Person explores that question and more this week as we welcome back John Stapleford, Executive Director for Economic Policy at the Caesar Rodney Institute. John, thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Let's start with two questions. Is Delaware better off economic-wise than we were 4 years ago? And will the economy keep improving over the next 4 years?
Put it pretty bluntly, compared to 10 years ago, okay, we have no more jobs than we had 10 years ago. Our unemployment rate is double what it was 10 years ago. The per capita income, per person income, we used to be above the nation 10 years ago, now we're below, below the nation. So when you, basically the Delaware economy has gone nowhere for a decade, and you know, the governor came in at the end of in the middle of a recession, really, and it's perked up a little bit, and now we're flatlined. And we're, for 2013, at best, you're going to see maybe 0.5% growth in jobs.
So looking forward, you don't see things really improving, at least in the near term?
No, they don't have the policies in place, and it's true at the federal level as well. Remember that this is the federal government that said we're going to reduce unemployment by sending people unemployment checks for 99 months. So that's what you're dealing with, you know, as an economist. You look at that.
As far as the state budget goes, what's a bigger concern, a bigger issue? Healthcare costs for the state, or sort of the growing issue of funding state pensions?
I would say the starting point is to kind of own up to what, you're right, you nailed the two biggest issues, but the starting point is to own up to it, and nobody has to take ownership of it, because it's a result of years and years of voting by different legislators, different governors. But there doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency, like, let's pull people together and talk about this, what we can do. You're right, in the case of Medicaid, $630 million, it's the largest single line item now in the state budget. Delaware has very liberal Medicaid eligibility requirements, up to 200% of the poverty level for a single pregnant woman. And our Medicaid enrollment has been growing faster than the nation and faster than all the states around us for the last 10 years. And it can't be sustained, because it's going to start crowding out spending on education and so forth. The Department of Education is the #1 budget, but Health and Social Services now is just a little bit behind them, and the Medicaid thing is going to blow the state budget out of the water if something isn't done. And there are states that are doing creative things. You're right on the pension. The state's contribution to the pension has been falling below what it should be for the last 4 or 5 years, and basically taking more money out of the pension than we're paying in. The pension question, it all depends on what you think the earnings rate is going to be. The state pension fund, like many other pension funds, used to say, we're going to earn 8% a year on the money we have already and then the money coming in. Well, you know, economists and actuarials look at that and say, well, 8% a year, maybe 4% a year. Well, if it's 4% a year, all of a sudden the outstanding liability on the pension gets up to about $5 billion, and Delaware has a general fund of $3.5 billion. I'd throw in one other thing on that around the pensions, which the rating agencies are looking at, which is unfunded healthcare liability. Delaware has an unfunded healthcare liability of at least $5.5 billion. It's very generous healthcare to retirees, including the spouse and so forth, and the money's not there. They recognized that in 2005, and still nothing has been done. So bottom line to me is, it's nobody's fault, quote, you know, that we have these problems, but let's get people together and talk about solutions. It's not going to go away.
If there is a bright spot economically in this state, some would say it'd be in the South. Sussex County earlier this week reported a budget surplus for the past fiscal year. The governor sort of went off script in his State of the State address to announce new jobs, ILC moving some production from Mexico to Seaford. Does that kind of indicate a little bit of a growing the economy and maybe a little bit of political power in Sussex County?
Compared to Newcastle County has had net outmigration for the last 5 years, lost about 6,000 people and maybe $600 million of adjusted gross income lost, okay? Sussex County has gained about 17,000 people and close to $1 billion of adjusted gross income. This is IRS data, and it's mostly retirees from Maryland and southeastern Pennsylvania, well-educated, good current income with pensions and wealth. And Sussex County has at least 2/3 of the residential construction activity, and it's been that way for perhaps even up to a decade. Newcastle County passed the Uniform Development Code in 1998, and at that point the county economy basically stopped growing. Employment is still the same as it was in 1998 because, you know, they're sending out a message both through regulations and behavior. We really don't want a lot more development.
All right. John Stapleford, Executive Director of Economic Policy at the Caesar Rodney Institute. Thanks so much for your time and joining us on First.